This is part 2 of a webinar produced by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, to help you understand and conduct a key category analysis, abbreviated as a KCA. The first part introduced the concept of a KCA and provided background information. In this second part, we will walk you through conducting a KCA using EPA's KCA tool and emission estimates from an example inventory. The first part of this demonstration will provide an overview of how to use the KCA tool. We will also demonstrate how to conduct a key category analysis for a single year or for multiple years. Finally, we'll provide you with some best practices and additional resources to help you in your KCA. The KCA tool works in Microsoft Excel and is available on the EPA website. The link to the tool can be found on your screen below this video. When you open the web page, scroll down about halfway to the template workbook section. Click to open the tool. There are two key things to remember when using this tool. First, you must make sure that macros are enabled in the Excel file. To enable macros in the KCA tool, click on the Enable Content button on the yellow message bar that appears towards the top of the spreadsheet. For more instructions on how to enable macros in different versions of Excel, click on the link at the bottom right corner for instructions. The second thing to remember is that cells are color-coded to help identify the necessary action. For example, all input cells are yellow. To navigate through the different pages of the tool, use the green buttons on each page to go forward, backward, or to the home page, which is the user's guide. If you need to clear all manually inputted data, then there's a button on the user page titled Clear Workbook that will delete numbers in all the manually inputted cells. The first page in the tool is the user's guide, which includes instructions on how to use the tool. I will not review this part in detail, but you should carefully read this section to help guide you in the use of this tool. Moving on, the definitions page provides some supporting information for your reference. This page includes resources from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, definitions, global warming potentials, conversion factors, and an emission conversion calculator. In this tool, the term base year refers to the earliest year of emission estimates from within the same inventory report. A base year is only relevant for inventories that have more than 1 year of emission estimates. For current year, use the emission estimates for the most recent year of greenhouse gas estimates in your inventory. If the most recent emission estimates was for the year 2010, then 2010 is the current year. For the first part of the demonstration, we assume the inventory only provides emission estimates for a single year, and we will consider it as the current year. We will now go to the source selection page. This is where you select the sources included in your inventory. This page allows you to select the category at a detail level that best matches your data. For example, if you have fuel combustion emission data by solid, liquid, and gaseous fuel types, you can select it at this level of detail. If you don't have information by fuel type, you can instead select energy industries and provide an aggregated estimate. This customization allows you to best describe the inventory for your country. Again, there are instructions at the top of the page that you should review before beginning. Before you begin selecting checkboxes, specify which IPCC guidelines your inventory categories follow, either 1996 or 2006. Then, click on the appropriate checkboxes down on the left side of the page. The 6 sectors from the 1996 IPCC guidelines that are included in this tool are energy, industrial processes, solvents and other product use, agriculture, land use change and forestry, and waste. In the 2006 guidelines, agriculture, land use change, and forestry were combined, and industrial processes and solvents were combined. This is also reflected in the tool. These sectors are further divided by source and sink categories and type of greenhouse gas resulting from each category. As seen in the rows for solid fuel combustion from energy activities, there are 3 separate rows for carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide emissions because these gases have different methodologies emission factors, and related uncertainties. Be sure to check and make sure you are selecting the correct categories and corresponding gases. Another thing to remember is that the categories in your inventory may not align exactly with the categories seen on the page. For example, your inventory may include emission estimates for electric power sector coal. While there are no source categories for electric power sector coal, this would be included under energy industries and under solid fuel. Once you have finished selecting your source and sink categories and corresponding gases, click on the Continue arrow to enter your emission estimates. Select the unit of your emission estimate from your inventory, either in gigagrams of gas or gigagrams of carbon dioxide equivalent. For this example, we will report emission estimates in gigagrams of carbon dioxide equivalent. Enter the current year and the base year into the appropriate yellow boxes. Emission estimates for the current year is entered here for the corresponding inventory. If you have an emission estimate for a category that is not listed, then click the Add button to enter the information under Other. When entering other categories, enter the sector number, category, and gas in the appropriate columns before entering emission estimates. We will now populate the KCA tool with greenhouse gas estimates for the current year. For demonstrative purposes, we will copy and paste the emission estimates from an example inventory into the input page of the tool. Once you have entered all your emission estimates, click on the Continue arrow. You will see a summary of the data you just entered. If you notice any errors, click on the Back button to make corrections on the source selection and emission estimate pages. Once you have confirmed that the estimates were entered correctly, click Continue to go to the next page. Because this example inventory only uses current year emission estimates and does not take into account uncertainty, this page does not provide relevant information. Moving on, we will see our Tier 1 level assessment results. Because we only have emission estimates for the current year, we will skip the base year results. Looking at the Tier 1 current year level page, the resulting key categories are shaded in green. For a level assessment, key categories are those that, when summed together in descending order of magnitude, make up 95% of the total level of emissions as seen here. The final page is the KCA summary table. This summary page consolidates all the key categories identified under your current year level assessment. This concludes the demonstration for current year of emission estimates. Now, I will demonstrate what to do when we have more than 1 year of emission estimates. Going back to the input page, we now want to enter emission estimates for a base year, as seen here. Our example inventory has reported emissions for 1995 and 2010 in their second national communication. Therefore, the base year is 1995 and the current year is 2010. Again, note that emission estimates for the current and base year for the example country originated from the same report. After entering this information into the KCA tool, confirm the units of emission data. In this case, it is in gigagrams of carbon dioxide equivalent. To enter emission estimates for the base year, you will follow the same procedures as you used for the current year inventory. If you have uncertainty estimates for the activity data and emission factors, then you can enter the corresponding values in columns over here. The cells are automatically turned to percentages. If you don't have this information, then leave the columns blank. Now that base year emissions, current year emissions, and uncertainty estimates have been entered, click on the Continue arrow to review the data you just entered. Again, these next 2 pages summarize the emission estimates entered in the source selection and emission estimates input pages, and are for your reference only. Seeing that the emission estimates correspond to the appropriate categories and that uncertainty estimates are entered correctly, continue onto the assessment pages. The next page is the Tier 1 base year level page. Similar to the Tier 1 current year level assessment, this page identifies the key categories in the base year without accounting for uncertainty. The resulting key categories are highlighted in green. The next page is the Tier 1 current year level page, which is the same as the first part of this demonstration. The third assessment page is the Tier 1 trend. A trend assessment identifies the key categories that may not have been large enough to be identified as key in a level assessment, but whose trend over time is significantly different from the trend of the overall inventory and should therefore receive particular attention. The last three assessment pages incorporate the uncertainty estimates entered into the input page, as seen here. Click through each of these pages to see the key categories under each assessment. You should note that under a Tier 2 assessment, key categories are those that comprise up to 90% of total emission estimates instead of 95% under a Tier 1 assessment. The last two pages are the KCA summary tables. These summary tables consolidate all the key categories identified under each assessment. By scrolling to the right of the first summary page, you can see the key categories identified under Tier 1 and Tier 2 approaches. Please note that the emission estimates presented on the summary pages are converted to gigagrams of carbon dioxide equivalent. The summary page shows the KCA results in different tables. There may be key categories that are key categories in the trend assessment that were not identified under the level assessment. Any category that is identified and highlighted in any of these assessment tables is considered a key category. The second summary table provides a consolidated list of your key categories. Use these summary pages to complete the KCA template, which is part of the Developing a National Greenhouse Gas Inventory Management System template workbook. This template workbook can also be found on EPA's website. The results from EPA's KCA tool should also be used by sector leads to better understand which categories to prioritize in the future. You should also report your results to your national inventory. Refer to IPCC resources for additional details. In this webinar, we have reviewed how to use the EPA KCA tool, what approaches to use for entering data for a single or multiple years, and what resources are available to inventory teams. This concludes Part 2 of the KCA webinar. Click on the link on your screen to proceed to Part 3, which reviews the EPA templates.